to discuss with the Deputy Prime Minister Osmani, and now I will give the floor to him.
Thank you very much, dear media representatives. Let me, at the beginning, convey my deepest gratitude to my host, Minister for European Affairs, Ms. Tuppurainen, for this warm welcome today in Finland, but also to express my sincere satisfaction for the clear support that we have just received from the Finnish presidency with the EU for my country's European integration. As October comes closer, our expectations as a government, but also the expectations of our citizens, tend to rise higher, because probably this is the most important period since the independence of the country, when our European and Euro-Atlantic future should be firmly sealed. I would like to make one thing clear at the very beginning. The government of North Macedonia remains committed to the EU integration process in its full capacity, and I am aware that despite all the achievements, and I would say unprecedented achievements even in the recent European politics, whether it's the resolving the name issue, the reconciliation with our neighbors, internal reconciliation, or the reform progress that was achieved, yet the decision to start the accession negotiations requires a unanimous support and green light from all 28 member states in October. And this is one more reason to stay focused on the process in the forthcoming period and to close all open gaps on all possibilities that as open issues might arise to jeopardize the process. Let me be honest that I'm aware that the recent developments with the publication of the case possibly pointing out to severe corruption and obstruction of justice are undermining the overall progress made in the fight against corruption and organized crime, as well as the previously achieved result in judiciary reform. And I am also aware of the interest for this new development coming from all the EU capitals, having in mind that the rule of law is a fundamental principle, not only as a benchmark for EU integration process, but also for the stability and the progress of the country itself. And I have conveyed my utmost assurance to Minister Tuppurainen that the latest investigation of the public prosecution for that case is a confirmation that the system is functional. In that context, I expect that the institutions will investigate and prosecute the case in a professional and transparent manner, and in the end, all involved will have to bear the consequences with no exception whatsoever, regardless of the current position in the government, in the judiciary, in the state institutions or elsewhere. This is definitely the right time for the institutions to show their strength, independence, and efficiency to enforce the rule of law, thus to restore the confidence in every possible aspect, internally to restore the confidence from our citizens, but also externally to justify the trust given from our friends from the EU member states. And in the same context, we need to create the setting for the so-called high-level anti-corruption prosecution to continue its work, and no case led by these institutions, no matter when and how conducted, must not be jeopardized. North Macedonia has the political and institutional capacity to continue its path to the full EU membership and to start the negotiations with the Union in October. We have overcome political and institutional crises many times before, and we have proved that we are a strong state, dedicated and oriented toward EU and NATO, and no challenge can undermine our commitment. This visit to Finland at this time is extremely important for us. I would like to reiterate my government's gratitude to Finland for all the support that we are receiving, particularly in their genuine effort to help us round up the EU integration process, and I look forward to the prospect to receive the date for the accession negotiations in October during your presidency with the EU. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister Osmani. And then it's time for questions. And please mention your name and your media and wait for the microphone before the question. So, who would like to be the first? Okay, over here.
Juliana Nikolovska, Channel 5. I would like the opinion of both. Among the states that had expressed some reserves for granting our country a date for starting the negotiation with the EU were Germany and France. How and in what measure can Finland influence their decision-making process during its presidency with the Union?
Thank you for the question. If I understood correctly, you ask about the opinions of other member states. I must say that Finland as presidency acts as honest broker. So we will facilitate the negotiations, and I wish not to comment on other member states' opinions. I have to say that there has been improvement in some respect, and I'm optimistic that if every criteria is met, we are able to put that on the agenda in October with a good possibility of finding a solution. Yes.
And next question, yes, over there, please.
Fatlume Dervishi, also television, North Macedonia. As it was mentioned from our minister, how much do you think the latest corruption affairs could affect the integration process?
I hope it will not harm the process. And I consider this a sort of test for the judicial system of North Macedonia. The rule of law and the Rechtsstaat, as they say in German, is not just about single individuals. It is about institutions. And North Macedonia has done significant progress and now is more or less put into test. And we have the patience to wait and see what happens, and we insist on thorough and deep investigation, an objective investigation where no one is above the law.
And then we have third question over there, please.
Sara Vainio, Helsingin Sanomat. I was wondering, you already mentioned rule of law many times, but is there another major obstacle for the membership of North Macedonia in particular?
It is a whole set of criteria. There's the rule of law and, of course, human rights and the civil society and so forth. And in that respect, I think progress has been made. Finland has been ready to make the decision on opening the accession negotiations already a year ago. So as a country, we don't see any reason to further delay. As presidency, we will now have to act as honest brokers and listen to all the member states. And now the very current events in North Macedonia will also be decisive.
And does Minister Osmani want to comment?
Well, just want to add, since I was asked about the opinions of the member states, that the decision to postpone the positive decision of the Council from June to October was for technical reasons, due to the fact that German Bundestag did not have enough space and time to approve the report of the Commission, which was one of the best reports that the country got out of the 10 consecutive reports from 2005 until now. So since the government continued to implement the necessary reform, to implement the political agreements that we have signed, we don't see any substantial political or technical obstacles to snooze up the alarm anymore for the decision, but it's important that we are in contact with the member states. We are very happy that Finland is presiding with the EU in a period when we are expecting to start the accession negotiations. I have mentioned to the minister that there is a symbolic in this, the fact that the first recommendation that we got from the Commission, we got it during the period when a Finnish commissioner was head of the enlargement portfolio, Mr. Olli Rehn, whom I will meet later on during this day, and now to round up this process 10 years after, during Finnish presidency, is somehow a beautiful story to explain. So we will work together, we will work with all the member states, but what's more important, we will not leave a reason for any member states to find a remark to our clear dossier.
So I think now it's time to close. I thank ministers and everyone else, and have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Excellent.